So for today's field notes, I'm bringing it inside, and I am going to talk to you a little bit today about one of my favorite topics in the whole world, and that is dinosaurs. So I am a little bit of a hobby paleontologist myself. My master's degree was studying fossil invertebrates in the Cretaceous period. So I'm really excited to talk about some new scientific discoveries today and talk about my favorite dinosaur, probably of all time, even though it's impossible to choose just one. Spinosaurus. So most of us know Spinosaurus as this movie monster from the Jurassic Park franchise that was big enough and vicious enough to take on T-Rex in a 1v1 battle. However, that is a way over dramatized representation of Spinosaurus, and there have been a lot of recent discoveries that have showed us exactly what this species looks like. So today I want to get into one of my favorite dinosaurs of all time and a little bit about some brand new discoveries hot off the press related to Spinosaurus. So, if you're not familiar with dinosaur naming systems and how we apply names to dinosaur species, most of the common names that people are familiar with, things like Spinosaurus, Allosaurus, Apatosaurus, those are actually genera. So, that is a genus of a whole group of species of dinosaurs. So, there can be multiple species within Allosaurus. However, for Spinosaurus in particular, until very, very recently, we have only known one species of Spinosaurus, and that is called Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. So, Spinosaurus aegyptiacus is the species that most people are familiar with when they think of Spinosaurus. This was the one that Jurassic Park was using and using their creative liberties to kind of adjust when they were making their movie franchise. So, before we get into the new discovery, I want to give a little bit of background about what we know about Spinosaurus aegyptiacus and what we can use to learn about the new species. So, Spinosaurus aegyptiacus is a large theropod dinosaur. So, theropods are those big carnivorous meat eating dinosaurs like T Rex, like Allosaurus. So, they are very large and they are carnivores. Spinosaurus, in particular, is, as we know it today, the largest carnivorous dinosaur known to science. There may have been others out there that didn't fossilize. We'll never know. We'll talk about that in another video. But Spinosaurus was what we consider to be the largest based off of reconstructions. So they were about 14 meters long, which in US measurements is about 46 feet. And their weight was somewhere around 7 to 8,000 kilograms, which is about 8 tons. So very, very large dinosaurs. And they lived about 99 to 94 million years ago. So that is still considered the late Cretaceous. But by comparison, the T Rex lived between 69 to 65 million years ago. So Spinosaurus is 30 million years older than T Rex. So unfortunately, we never would get that 1v1 battle in real life that we saw in Jurassic Park. But I still think Spino would win, even in real life. So the fossils for Spinosaurus that we know of, Spinosaurus aegyptiacus, were discovered in Egypt and Morocco. So the very first discovery of Spinosaurus was in 1912 in Egypt. And so that species definition and description was done. That paper was published in 1915. Unfortunately, that very first specimen of Spinosaurus that we had was actually destroyed in World War II. So that early collection was lost to us. And for a very long time, all we had about Spinosaurus was those very first bones. We didn't find any more remains of Spinosaurus until the early 21st century. So very, very recently. So our previous understanding of Spinosaurus, based on that early reconstruction, based on that very first specimen, was that they were more bipedal. So, like T Rex, Allosaurus walked on their hind legs, had smaller forelimbs. However, based on these more modern reconstructions from the 21st century, we know that they actually were more quadrupedal. So, they walked on all four legs. So, a little bit about Spinosaurus and their ecology and anatomy. So, in the late Cretaceous period, the Sahara Desert, where we have found these bones, was not a desert at all. It was actually very muddy, very marshy, mangrove forests, very aquatic. So these dinosaurs, Spinosaurus aegyptiacus, was thought to be an aquatic dinosaur. They most likely fed on fish, and we know that because of the style of their teeth. They are very long and pointy. And we'll talk about some anatomical similarities between Spinosaurus and other species a little bit later. But those tidal flatlands, those mangrove forests, allowed for Spinosaurus to hunt along those riverbanks and really eat fish and other aquatic species. So they also had this really cool sail on their back. So if you've ever seen Spinosaurus, that is probably what you um, associate with Spinosaurus, is that giant sail or the giant spine on their back. There is some scientists that believe it could be for temperature regulation, maintaining body temperature, but we're pretty certain, based off of recent studies, that it is mostly for attracting mates or fighting with other rival Spinosauruses. So that is a little bit about Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. So now to get into the brand new discovery that is hot off the press. I'm so excited to talk about this on my channel because I can't keep talking to my friends about it because I'm pretty sure they're sick of hearing me talk about it and post it on my own personal socials. But just in February of 2026, so as of recording this about 2 months ago, there was a paper posted in Science, in the journal Science, one of the largest scientific journals in the world, describing a brand new species of Spinosaurus. And they are calling it Spinosaurus mirabilis or mirabilis. It's Latin, so say it with conviction and you'll probably correct. So they actually found a brand new skull of Spinosaurus species in Niger. So a different part of the Sahara Desert, but still that desert ecosystem today. And if you read the paper, it's actually really interesting. The lead author on that paper is Paul Sereno. He is at the University of Chicago. And he talks about how it is very difficult to get to these sites because they have not been excavated, they have not been studied in many, many years. So he said it was quite the journey just to get out there. So I highly recommend you read that paper and read some of the news articles surrounding the discovery. So Spinosaurus mirabilis was around 95 million years old in age, so right in the same time frame that Spinosaurus aegyptiacus was around. This other species was around as well. And the awesome thing about this new species, Spinosaurus mirabilis, is that it has this really cool curved crest on the skull that has never been seen before. That's why we're very positive it's a new species of Spinosaurus, because Spinosaurus aegyptiacus does not have that crest on the skull. So it's very distinct for this species. And it is actually covered in a layer of keratin. So keratin is the same material that covers your nails and your hair. So it's covered in keratin, very similar to modern day cassowaries. So cassowaries are a large species of bird. And we can talk about how birds and dinosaurs are related in another video as well. But it's just a very interesting example of when we have ancestral traits in modern day species. So very interesting. So this crest was thought to attract mates or to scare away other rival spinosaurids in this species in particular, so similar to the sail. But it was a very striking, very distinct feature of the species, which is really, really exciting. So this species also gave us a little bit more information about what spinosaurids in general looked like and their ecology. So, what they were eating, where they lived, what their day to day life was like. So, the lead author of the paper, Paul Serrano, he actually called this species the hell heron, which I think is a hilarious and very poignant description of this dinosaur because that's exactly what it sounds like. So, Spinosaurus mirabilis was probably wading along the river's edges, snapping up fish as they came along. If you have seen the recent Netflix documentary called Dinosaurs, highly recommend. If you have not, it's a really good documentary. There's this clip where they show Spinosaurus with its jaws in the water, waiting for a shark to swim through and then grabbing it. Um, do we know that that actually happened specifically? Of course not. We weren't there when Spinosaurus was around, but we do know that it probably did use hunting mechanisms similar to that to catch aquatic prey, which is really freaking cool. So, how do we know all of that? Well, especially for Spinosaurus mirabilis, we can look at the shape of the head and the teeth. So, they probably ate fish because they had these very, very giant slanted teeth that actually interlock in the front of their snout. And they had these very powerful forelimbs that had these like slicing, what we call blade like claws on them in order to, what we think, grab and slice through very slippery things like fish. Um, and anatomically, they also have some really interesting comparisons and similarities to crocodilians, so gators and crocs. They have very small nostrils that are more in the middle of their skull. They actually have something called a neurovascular opening that is at the end of their snout as well. So, a lot of scientists agree that crocodilians use these neurovascular openings in order to detect vibrations and other chemos sensors in the water and helps them find prey a lot easier. So, these spinosaurids also have a very similar mechanism to do that, which is really interesting. Um, they also had what we consider to be pretty loosely connected bones in their tail, which would be to help them kind of bend in a wave like fashion and kind of swish it in the water to help them swim. So it's unlikely that they were swimming and diving like some scientists seem to think. So there is some debate over whether they can actually dive down into water to get fish. Um, so we're not sure if they actually dove down, but we are pretty confident that they would swim through the water, and they could catch prey that way, either by wading through the shallows, swimming through water, and snapping up whatever prey that they can find, which is really crazy and exciting. So, just to show you a little bit more about the anatomy of Spinosaurus and how we know that they ate fish and lived in these aquatic habitats, I actually was lucky enough on some travels recently to stumble across a like oddities shop, curiosity store, I guess whatever you want to call it, in France, and they had on display a actual, real fossilized Spinosaurus tooth. And of course, I could not leave it there. I had to bring it home through TSA on an airplane across the Atlantic Ocean to get it home because how could I leave this there? Never. So this is an actual Spinosaurus tooth that is fossilized, and you can see just how long it is. So I mean, it's almost the length of my whole hand, and it is quite sharply tipped here. And there's these serrations a little bit on here, these grooves that would tell me it's pretty darn sharp. So that shows you just how long and large this dinosaur was, and also gives us a little glimpse into what it actually ate. This new species is an incredible discovery for science. It's so important for us to try to understand life previously in order for us to reconstruct what Earth used to look like. And a lot of people, as an educator, I have students ask me all the time, like, well, why do we care what Earth looked like a long time ago? And the short answer to that is number one, it's freaking cool. So rude. But also, number two, it's because for us to reconstruct what Earth looked like, it gives us a snapshot into how Earth has changed over time. And our Earth is changing right now. I will make many videos in the future about climate change and how that is being how that is impacting species on Earth today and what is causing those kind of changes. But our Earth is changing now. So by us understanding how species have evolved and adapted to those changes in the past, we can look and see how we can support and whether or not species today are being able to adapt to similar ecosystem changes. So number one, it's freaking cool, and number two, it's important for us to understand how life works so that we can try to save it as much as possible. So I hope that you enjoyed learning more about Spinosaurus mirabilis and Spinosaurus aegyptiacus today. If you're interested in learning more, I will link the papers that I used for this information down in the description of the video. But I hope that you learned something new today. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments and I will get back to you. Thanks for watching.